As a constitutional law attorney, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Throughout history, there are clear moments that define our nation's path. And now you can own a piece of that history. I'm thrilled to announce the official Newt Gingrich contract with America coin from our friends at Legacy Precious Metals in partnership with Speaker Gingrich. This limited edition 1 ounce 99.99% silver coin commemorates the historic victory in 1994 when the Republican Party, under Speaker Gingrich's guidance, took control of Congress. The Newt Gingrich contract with America coin also symbolizes the transformative political platform that led to the landmark achievements like the overhaul of the U.S. welfare system and the Balanced Budget Act. This is a limited edition coin that will sell out. So whether you're looking for the perfect gift or you want to own a piece of history, act fast before they run out. The Newt Gingrich contract with America coin is more than an investment. It's a tribute to honest government and America. You can order it online at newtgingrichsilvercoin.com. That's newtgingrichsilvercoin.com and use promo code Jenna, that's Jenna, to get $10 off your purchase. Go to newtgingrichsilvercoin.com now.
Welcome back, and we are in the first live show of the week, and I know this is already Thursday, but due to the weather in Tupelo, so very happy to be back on the air, and so that means that we have not had a chance to talk about the Iowa Caucus results, and so I gave you some of my thoughts in the first segment, but now I want to welcome in our good friend Steve Deace, who is a part of Blaze TV and has an amazing show there with Christian conservative analysis, and I always appreciate when he makes time to come on and give us his thoughts, because this is always bigger than politics. It's bigger than any one person, one campaign. This is always ultimately about speaking the truth of the gospel of Christ and pointing toward eternity in heaven with Christ. So, Steve, thanks so much for coming on. And first, I want to get your reaction overall to Iowa and what you think.
I think that obviously it was a dominant, sweeping victory for the former president, Jenna, and him and his team deserve credit for that. No question about it. I also think if you're looking ahead to 292 days from today, there are some very, very ominous signs within those numbers that, right now, since the election is on, everybody kind of retreats to their silos and goes to get confirmation more than information. My team's going to win kind of a thing. And then, it usually means after one team loses in the off season that they're actually willing to listen to reason. But if you're concerned, ultimately you realize the goal is November 5th. There's three things inside those what happened in Iowa that I would be very concerned about moving forward if you want to talk about those.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of that, I would share, and I can probably predict a little bit what you're going to say in terms of the general election. So, yeah, go ahead, Steve.
So I think, the Iowa poll actually got Trump's percentage almost exactly right. And yet that same Iowa poll that predicted how he was going to do in the caucuses found that only 48% of Iowa Republicans identified as MAGA. The reason that matters is that 78% of Republicans who voted Monday night in the caucuses identified as MAGA. All right, so that's very important with what I'm about to say next. There was an oversampling of MAGA. They turned out in the weather. Obviously, he had the most devoted following, and they were willing to come out and brave those conditions and dominate. And so, hey, it's the old JFK line, history is won by those who show up, and they did. But keep this in mind. Even with 78% of those calling themselves MAGA being an Iowa caucus voter, almost 1/3 of those voters said they would not vote for Trump if he were a convicted felon. And that's going to be about as high of a MAGA sample of a real-time vote in a contested race as you're probably going to see this entire cycle. So, I mean, that is something, if I'm a Democrat operative, I was gleeful to see that. Gleeful. to see that. That fits right into everything I've laid out, every trap I have, everything I have planned. I've got him indicted on 91 counts. I just need one. I just need to go 1 for 91, Jenna. You know, as a lawyer, most lawyers can go 1 for 91. Okay, so that's I think very ominous. The other thing very ominous for the general election is though Trump got 51% across the state, in the suburbs in Iowa, he got 41%. Now, our state is one of the few, your state, Mississippi, where AFA is, would be another, where there is enough critical mass of population in rural areas still that you can overcome urban areas. But that doesn't exist in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Michigan, Wisconsin, the states that are going to decide this thing in 292 days. And the loss in the suburbs has been the problem for Republicans since 2016. In 2016, Trump was able to hold on to the GOP's traditional suburban base while adding rural voters, and that's why he won. Since then, the Republican Party has lost suburban voters in every in every election cycle. And so, again, here we are seeing in a dominant win, the president demonstrating a weakness with suburban voters yet again. He's going to have to broaden his appeal, not his message. All right, everybody knows the country was better off when he was president. The problem with this is that in the suburbs like where I live, people are still very well off. Yeah, they don't want to pay $5 for a carton of eggs, but they can afford it. And so as long as they're not suffering enough, then they will afford themselves the luxury of voting on things like mean tweets like we saw in the midterms, voting on things like, I don't like the way he behaves or acts, because they're not suffering enough yet in the suburbs. And this is where elections get decided. Republicans don't win urban areas anywhere. Democrats don't win rural areas anywhere. The battleground is in the suburbs. And so there was weakness in those suburban numbers for Trump on Monday night that looks very similar to what you see across the board in the last several election cycles. And then finally, we had almost a 10-point drop in white evangelical turnout in Iowa from 2016. Can attribute some of that to the weather. Frankly, can attribute some of that to you are watching the church erode like sinking sand in America in real time. There's just not as many evangelicals. But, that doesn't account for 10 points. And there's just no way. The Republicans could nominate any live being, and they're not winning a national election with depressed white evangelical turnout like that. So if I'm a Democrat operative, and I always try to see things the way my opponents and enemies do, because I want to beat them. So I don't want to pump my own sunshine. I don't want to smell my own fat flatulence. I want to beat my enemies. So I don't want Kool-Aid. I like acid shots. I want to win. If I'm an analyst with the DNC or whatever corps they decide to nominate and put up, later this year, I'm probably pretty gleeful at these numbers. All right, he barely got 50% in a state that is 97% white and rural. There was only one other candidate who had a turnout operation at all. White evangelical turnout depressed, suburban numbers were down. That's what they're saying to themselves, okay? Whether that's true or not, but that's what your enemies are thinking, and I think you'd be wise to know what your enemies are thinking.
So, Steve, I agree with your analysis, and I think it's going to be a very difficult road for Donald Trump if he does become the nominee, and I think that's almost inevitable at this point. And so could he choose a vice president pick that will help with suburban America or with evangelical voters, like with Mike Pence? When he, in 2016, the reason he chose Mike Pence, and I think it was a good choice at the time, was to try to secure the evangelical vote. Can he do something like that heading into 2024 that would be meaningful?
I think it's harder because you're dealing with people that are not in your native base. Choosing Mike Pence gives confidence to people who are predisposed to vote for you. And in this case, you're dealing with people who are not. Then there's, and you would know this better than me, having worked with him. For what you're proposing to work, you'd essentially have to free that person up to be independent of you almost as a candidate. Basically, what the John McCain campaign should have let Sarah Palin do back in the day. And then the minute they did it and she started accumulating kind of her own brand, they reined her in because she wasn't the nominee. You know, Donald Trump strikes me as strikes me as a jealous patriarch, not eager to share his glory with another. I'm not sure that it's within that kind of his thing to say, you know, I'll just give you a name, just hypothetically. Hey, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. All right, you're someone I can nominate that might help me appeal to suburban women, but doesn't risk any form of a rift at all in my MAGA base like a Nikki Haley would. So I'm going to choose you, and all you're going to do is just go out basically and run your own shadow campaign in suburban areas in key swing states all over the country, and essentially act as your own as a presidential candidate yourself. I mean, I think that's a brilliant strategy, actually. I'm just not entirely sure that is something, you know, Donald Trump signs off on. I mean, that's outside of his normal character to give somebody else that level of limelight. You might know that better than me, but, you know, just
there was a line.
I don't see it.
Yeah, you know, there was a line that so many of us on the campaign side with working with Trump and even within the administration would always say is the number one rule is that you can't overshadow the boss. Yeah, and that's just true. I mean, and that's the way that he wants it. And Mike Pence was basically just a spokesperson for Trump. Mm-hmm. That's exactly everybody that he wants. So I would agree with that even if that were the best way to move forward, that's really not within his wheelhouse or his arsenal or his MO. And so because I only have about 7 more minutes with you, Steve Deace. So let's talk about though Ron DeSantis, because you and I have both endorsed him. Obviously, he did not do as well as you and I hoped in Iowa. He has not yet withdrawn. I think there were a lot of significant problems with his campaign, chief among them 2 things. He did not do enough media to overcome how Donald Trump portrayed him. And when you let your opposition define you, it's very difficult to come back from that. And second, I think he ran a campaign that seemed like it was not meeting the moment. To have the contrast between Donald Trump's mugshot and Ron DeSantis playing softball with his son seemed to be like he's just not meeting what a lot of these conservatives genuinely fear, which is the weaponization of government against conservatives. And they see Donald Trump, right or wrong, as the tip of that spear. So where do you think he goes from here? Is there a reason why he should stay in still at this point in your mind?
Well, let me address, if you don't mind, let me address the criticisms you have first, if you don't
Sure.
mind. I think your analysis is good. I just don't think it mattered. You know, I'm not shy about airing my opinions. As you know, I worked for the Cruz campaign in 2016, and if I disagreed with what we did, I just told my audience on the show I don't agree with that strategy. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, my number one loyalty is to the Lord and to the audience to tell them what I think.
Amen.
So, but here's the reason why you still to this day have not really caught me even expressing public criticisms of the DeSantis campaign or strategy when I've shared some of them privately. And some of them are in alignment with what you just said. I don't think any of it matters. I think I can point to, if there's any criticism at all that I would air publicly, it's that knowing what we know now, maybe don't run. Because on March 30th, the Real Clear Politics national polling average, I believe, was 40-32, Trump DeSantis. A week later, it was like 52-28. Now, Ron DeSantis wouldn't even be a candidate for 2 more months. What changed? On August 31st, Alvin Bragg indicted Donald Trump. The normal complexities and nuances. See, Jenna, with all due respect, I don't even think most of our voters even saw a video of Ron DeSantis playing softball with his son. All they have seen is Trump indicted, Trump persecuted. They can't do this to him. That's been the number one gravitational pull. If he'd have resurrected, if he'd have, like King Saul, going to the witch of Endor, gone to the spirit of Lee Atwater and conjured up the perfect message and attack on Donald Trump, I think it would have landed nowhere. because I think that the gravitational pull of this particular timeline is that what happened at the end of Trump's presidency wasn't right. What happened in the entirety of it wasn't right. And we have to finish the race with him. And I think that explains why DeSantis's top-line poll numbers were never very good, but his favorables remain very high. The sort of Twitter Jack Posobiec, mythology, we destroyed, that's just all Twitter BS that's not real. I think it just comes down to most of our people have made a decision that it's not time to turn the page yet, but we have to see it through with Donald Trump. And I don't think it's any more complicated than that. And I don't think any message or any code could have been cracked that could have changed that. That's really what I think.
And that makes a lot of sense. And so how does that, in your mind, jive with the poll that you cited earlier to say that if Trump is convicted at all, that a lot of people won't vote for him then? I mean, would they at that point say, OK, we're not seeing this through? Or how do you reconcile those two data points?
I think on Election Day, that number is not 30% of Republicans don't vote for him, but it doesn't have to be. What if it's 3? What if it's 4? What if it's 5? Because you're going to have RFK Jr. in the race. I mean, right now, he is polling better than Ross Perot in 1992 when he got 19%.
Yep.
I mean, I think you probably saw your last presidential debate between Haley and DeSantis. Democrats are going to say they're not going to risk rolling Joe Biden out there to glitch in front of 100 million people. They're going to say, hey, Trump, you didn't debate your combatants, and we're not debating an insurrectionist. And then both parties aren't going to want RFK Jr. on the stand because it's going to make both their guys look bad in some places. So I think you probably saw your last debate. I think you'll see a largely basement campaign from both sides once we get to the general. I think that you won't see anything close to the rally schedule Trump kept, and I think you'll barely see Joe Biden. And you're going to see one side fight a legal defense fund while the other side is blitzkrieging them. It's going to kind of be the opposite of what you just described Trump did to DeSantis. When we get into these spring and summer months and Trump is fighting for his life in these courts with all these proceedings that are lined up, they're going to unleash what they have been sitting on, just literally $500 million. They're going to unleash in TV ads while he is, essentially turning the Republican Party into a legal defense fund. That's what's going to happen next.
So then, Steve Deace, and this really paints a very grim picture, which I think is exactly why you and I both supported Ron DeSantis, who doesn't have any of those concerns.
I think people need to know the reasons why people like you and I risked our followings and everything else, because we did the math of this. We looked ahead to how this was all going to turn out. And hey, let's both be honest. If we didn't have a candidate as strong as Ron DeSantis, we'd probably bite the bullet and ride the lightning one more time, right? But we did. We had an alternative who proved he could actually act on Trump's agenda in ways he proved he could not. And so without that alternative, we'd probably be today in the same boat of many of our colleagues. But because we had that alternative, we did the math a lot of other people weren't willing to do. But this is playing, if I am whoever is the mastermind, whoever's running the country truly right now, everything, they're feeling like Emperor Palpatine right now. Everything is proceeding exactly as I have foreseen it. All the levers are falling into place. They are gleeful right now. That doesn't mean there's not a God. That doesn't mean there's not organic events that change things. But so far, this is proceeding exactly the way the bad guys want it to.
So in the last 2 minutes I have with you, Steve Deace, where do we go from here as Christian conservatives? Do we, in your mind, fall behind Trump? Do we look at a third-party conservative alternative that may rise?
I think everybody should, number one, understand what is happening here is real spiritual warfare. We're dealing with forces that go beyond natural laws and things of that nature, and that requires spiritual weaponry. And I think, simple things, like right now our church is doing a 21-day fast and pray. Simple things, there's plenty of time to wrestle with all of this in the months to come. For right now, my counsel would be to my fellow believers is to spiritually prepare yourselves for what is going to unfold this year and to see things as they really are, not necessarily what you are being fed or even more so what you want them to be.
Yeah, really, really solid advice. And I think a very sober analysis, Steve, because you're absolutely right that it would have been easier, frankly, for people like you and I to just go along with the rah, let's, do this. We are so back, all of these other things. But that would not be serving any of our listeners well. And primarily, that would not be serving our Lord and Savior well to just kind of brush aside all of these very concerning points. So I always appreciate you, Steve Deace. Thank you so much, and stand strong, my friend. We all need to pray for this nation, for the future of our country, and really consider what we're going to do in 2024.
Throughout history, there are clear moments that define our nation's path, and now you can own a piece of that history. I'm thrilled to announce the official Newt Gingrich contract with America coin from our friends at Legacy Precious Metals in partnership with Speaker Gingrich. This limited edition 1 ounce, 99.99% silver coin commemorates the historic victory in 1994 when the Republican Party, under Speaker Gingrich's guidance, took control of Congress. The Newt Gingrich contract with America coin also symbolizes the transformative political platform that led to the landmark achievements like the overhaul of the U.S. welfare system and the Balanced Budget Act. This is a limited edition coin that will sell out. So whether you're looking for the perfect gift or you want to own a piece of history, act fast before they run out. The Newt Gingrich contract with America coin is more than an investment. It's a tribute to honest government and America. You can order it online at newtgingrichsilvercoin.com. That's newtgingrichsilvercoin.com, and use promo code Jenna, that's Jenna, to get $10 off your purchase. Go to newtgingrichsilvercoin.com now. As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of their life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the Giza Dream bed sheets. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike found the world's best cotton. It is ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. Mike's Giza sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. The Giza Dream Sheets come in a variety of sizes and colors. Mike's latest incredible deal is the sale of the year. For a limited time, you will receive 50% off the Giza Dream Sheets. You will also receive a set for as low as $29.98. So go to mypillow.com, click on the radio podcast square, and use the promo code Jenna. There you will find not only this amazing offer, but also deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow 2.0 mattress topper, which I have and I love, the MyPillow kitchen towel sets, and now even flannel sheets and so much more. We definitely need flannel sheets for as crazy as all of this weather has been lately. So go to mypillow.com and make sure you use the promo code Jenna or call 1-800-564-8475. That's 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna.